My dear brothers and sisters, many people feel shaken when a problem they thought was gone suddenly returns. You prayed, you took the means, you felt relief, and then one day the symptoms show up again. The pain whispers, the fear knocks, and the heart asks, why is this happening to me again? At that moment, Shaitan loves to step in and plant doubt. He wants you to believe that Allah did not hear you, that your dua was weak, that your faith was not enough. That thought itself is a test, and it is one we must learn how to face. Allah never promised us a life without tests. He promised us guidance through them. Sometimes a difficulty leaves completely. Sometimes it returns. Sometimes it changes form. But nothing returns without wisdom, and nothing remains without purpose. When symptoms come back, it does not mean you are back to zero. It does not erase your prayers, your patience, or your progress. Healing is not always a straight line. Growth is not always visible. Some lessons are taught in layers, and some strengths are built slowly. When something returns, ask yourself not only, why is this back, but also, what is Allah teaching me now that I could not learn before? Perhaps earlier you relied on relief more than on the one who gives relief. Perhaps your heart became attached to feeling better instead of becoming closer to Allah. Perhaps Allah wants to elevate you further, cleanse you more, or draw you nearer through sincerity you did not know you had. A returning test can be a reminder, not a punishment. Remember this clearly, Allah does not delay except with mercy. Allah does not test except with love. And Allah does not burden a soul beyond what it can carry. If the challenge returned, it is because you are stronger than you think, even if you feel weak right now. Strength is not the absence of pain. Strength is turning to Allah despite the pain. Do not measure Allah's care for you by how you feel today. Feelings rise and fall, but Allah's mercy is constant. Some days you will feel hopeful. Some days you will feel tired. Some days you will feel frustrated. Allah understands all of it. He knows the silent dua you make when words no longer come out. He knows the tears you wipe before anyone sees them. He knows the effort it takes just to keep going. When symptoms return, renew your intention. Say, "Oh Allah, I am still yours." Worship is not only in ease. Worship is also in patience, in gratitude even when it is hard, and in trust when answers are delayed. Sometimes Allah cures immediately. Sometimes He cures gradually. Sometimes He cures the heart first, so that the body can follow. And sometimes the greatest cure is not the removal of the problem, but the strength Allah gives you to live with dignity through it. Never underestimate the value of consistency. Keep praying, even if the prayer feels heavy. Keep making dua, even if you repeat the same words every day. Keep seeking permissible treatment and taking the means, because Islam teaches us balance between trust and action. Tie your camel and then trust Allah. Do not abandon effort, and do not abandon hope. Hope is an act of worship. Be careful not to compare your journey to others. Someone else may have healed faster. Someone else may not understand your struggle. Their story is not your measure. Allah writes each story individually with precision and care. Your chapter may seem long, but its ending is written by the most merciful. And Allah never writes an ending that is unjust. If you feel tired, rest. If you feel overwhelmed, speak to Allah honestly. Say, "Oh Allah, you see me. You know me. I need you." There is no shame in weakness before Allah. That is where true strength begins. Even the prophets experienced hardship, repeated trials, and moments of deep pain. Yet their closeness to Allah only increased. Many people feel discouraged when something they thought was gone suddenly returns. You prayed sincerely. You made dua with all your heart. You sought the proper treatment or means, and you felt a sense of relief. You began to believe that perhaps the difficulty had passed forever. But one day, unexpectedly, the symptoms return. They may return in the same intensity or sometimes in a slightly different way. When this happens, the first instinct of the human heart is often panic, frustration, or even despair. The mind begins to question everything. Was my dua not accepted? Did I lack faith? Did I do something wrong? These thoughts are dangerous because they allow Shaitan to take advantage of our vulnerability. Shaitan thrives when we doubt Allah's mercy, when we think that our efforts are meaningless, and when we allow fear to dominate our hearts. He wants us to believe that Allah has turned away, that Allah has forgotten, that Allah no longer hears us. But this is never the case. The truth is that Allah never abandons His servants, and His wisdom is always beyond what we can perceive. Sometimes what we interpret as a setback is actually part of a larger divine plan that is unfolding in ways we cannot yet understand it. It is important to remember that Allah does not promise us a life without tests. The Quran reminds us that trials and challenges are a part of the human experience, and they are meant to strengthen our faith, refine our character, and draw us closer to Him. When a difficulty returns, it does not negate your previous efforts. It does not erase the prayers you made, the patience you exercised, or the progress you have achieved. Healing and relief are not always linear. Life is rarely a straight path, and spiritual growth is often gradual and layered. Some lessons are learned instantly, while others take time, repetition, and perseverance to fully grasp. The recurrence of symptoms may be a way Allah is teaching us patience, resilience, or a deeper reliance on Him. It may also be a reminder to evaluate our own hearts and actions, to see where our dependence lies, and to correct any areas where our trust in Allah may have weakened. When a test returns, the question we must ask ourselves is not simply, why is this happening again? But rather, what is Allah teaching me through this moment that I could not understand before? Perhaps previously we relied more on the relief itself rather than on the one who provides the relief. Perhaps we were more concerned with feeling better than with seeking closeness to Allah. Perhaps there is a spiritual aspect that must be addressed, a lesson in humility, gratitude, or perseverance that requires more attention. The return of a challenge may be an invitation to elevate ourselves, to purify our intentions, and to develop a level of sincerity that was previously unattainable. It is also crucial to remember that strength is not measured by the absence of difficulty. True strength is reflected in our response to trials, in our ability to turn to Allah despite hardship, and in our patience when relief is delayed. When symptoms reappear, it is a test of resilience and faith. Allah does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear, and every challenge is tailored to our capacity. This is a comfort and a reminder that we are stronger than we often realize. Even when we feel weak, Allah is with us, guiding, supporting, and protecting us. Every moment of patience, every moment of perseverance is recorded, rewarded, and cherished in ways we cannot see. One of the reasons challenges may return is to strengthen our trust and reliance on Allah. It is easy to trust Allah when everything is going smoothly and life is comfortable. But true reliance is tested when difficulties persist, when problems return, and when the heart feels weary. This is the moment where our faith must rise above feelings of despair, where our dua must become more heartfelt, more intentional, and more consistent. It is the moment to remind ourselves that Allah's wisdom is beyond our comprehension, and that what He allows to happen is ultimately for our benefit. Whether we understand it now or later, consistency is key in responding to returning trials. Continue making dua, continue praying, and continue taking the means that are permissible and beneficial. Islam teaches balance between effort and reliance. Tie your camel first, then trust Allah to guide and protect. This principle is a reminder that we should never abandon action out of despair, nor should we abandon hope because a problem persists. Every small step, every sincere effort is an act of worship when it is done with the intention of seeking Allah's pleasure. Not comparing ourselves to others is another pitfall when trials return. Someone else may seem to have healed faster, or someone else may appear to face fewer challenges. But every soul has its own path, its own tests, and its own timeline. Allah's writing is precise, and every difficulty is tailored individually. Your struggle, your patience, and your perseverance are unique and meaningful in the sight of Allah. Measuring your journey against someone else's only brings unnecessary stress and doubt, while recognizing the individuality of your path brings contentment, gratitude, and clarity. When you face the return of symptoms, allow it to become an opportunity for growth, reflection, and renewed faith. Speak to Allah with sincerity, even if words do not fully capture your feelings. Express your reliance on Him. Acknowledge your weakness before Him and seek His guidance, support, and mercy. This is the essence of true worship, turning to Allah not only in ease but also in hardship, and realizing that every moment, every struggle, and every act of patience is a part of His divine wisdom. Even the prophets faced repeated trials. They experienced moments of doubt, fear, and pain, yet their reliance on Allah never wavered. Their example teaches us that returning difficulties are not a sign of failure, but an opportunity to strengthen faith. They remind us that perseverance in the face of recurrence is a form of worship and a pathway to immense reward. The recurring symptoms, the returning struggles, and the continued tests are all part of a divine strategy to draw us closer, purify our hearts, and teach us lessons that cannot be acquired through ease alone. Understanding this perspective changes the way we experience setbacks. Instead of panic and despair, we cultivate patience, trust, and gratitude. Instead of questioning our worthiness, we reaffirm our reliance on Allah. Instead of feeling defeated, we see the opportunity to grow, to learn, and to strengthen our connection with the most merciful. This mindset transforms trials into a source of spiritual elevation, helping us navigate life's challenges with wisdom, faith, and resilience. The return of symptoms is not a sign that you are back to zero, nor does it undo your previous efforts. It is a reminder to renew your intentions, deepen your reliance on Allah, and remain steadfast in your actions. It is a call to recognize that life's tests are meant to elevate, refine, and purify, and that patience and trust in Allah are the keys to navigating these recurring challenges with dignity, faith, and hope. Healing is a journey that is rarely straight or predictable. Many people imagine that once they have prayed, sought treatment, or followed guidance, relief will come immediately and remain permanently. They expect that once a difficulty leaves, it will not return. But life rarely works in such a simple way, and spiritual and physical healing often do not follow a linear path. Symptoms can reappear, sometimes exactly as before, sometimes in altered forms, and this can be deeply unsettling. It is natural for the heart to feel discouraged when the same pain or problem resurfaces, especially when one has already invested effort, faith, and hope into seeking relief. Yet it is precisely in these moments of recurrence that we are offered an opportunity to understand a deeper truth, that healing is not just about the removal of discomfort, but also about the development of patience, resilience, and reliance on Allah. The progress we have made is never erased simply because a challenge returns. Every effort, every moment of patience, every prayer made with sincerity remains valuable and continues to count in the sight of Allah. Human beings are conditioned to seek immediate results, to expect quick fixes, and to measure success by visible outcomes. But spiritual and physical growth operate on a different scale. Sometimes relief is gradual, subtle, and cumulative rather than instantaneous. A returning symptom does not imply that previous efforts were futile or ineffective. Instead, it can indicate that the process of healing is ongoing, that the body, mind, and heart are being refined over time, and that lessons are still unfolding. This understanding is crucial because it allows us to approach setbacks, not with despair, but with a mindset of patience and perseverance. Healing, in its truest sense, encompasses both the physical restoration and the spiritual refinement of the person. When symptoms return, it may be an opportunity for reflection, to reassess the habits, actions, and intentions that may contribute to overall well-being and to strengthen the connection with Allah in ways that go beyond seeking relief from discomfort alone. One of the most important aspects to recognize is that progress is often invisible. Just because we do not immediately perceive improvement does not mean that nothing is happening within us. The heart may be growing in resilience, the mind may be strengthening in clarity, and the body may be undergoing processes of restoration that are not immediately obvious. The recurrence of symptoms may simply be a stage within a broader journey of recovery. It's in these moments that patience becomes a powerful tool. Patience is not simply waiting, it is maintaining trust, discipline, and hope, even when outcomes are uncertain. Each moment of patience through a recurring challenge is a moment of growth, a step toward enduring relief, and a demonstration of faith. Returning difficulties can also serve as reminders to evaluate the balance between effort and reliance on Allah. Often, when things initially improve, we become comfortable or complacent. We may begin to rely on the relief itself rather than the one who provides it. A recurring challenge can awake the heart to the importance of continuous reliance on Allah, sincere dua, and mindful action. It encourages reflection. Have we been consistent in our prayers? Have we continued to act upon what is permissible and beneficial to seek healing? Have we maintained gratitude even when relief seemed within reach? Such moments highlight the necessity of aligning actions with intention, ensuring that both are directed toward Allah's pleasure rather than simply seeking temporary comfort. It is also critical to understand that healing is multifaceted. Sometimes what returns is not just a physical symptom, but an emotional, psychological, or spiritual challenge that accompanies it. Illness, pain, or difficulty often touch more than one aspect of our being. A recurrence may reveal areas that still require attention, whether it is coping mechanisms, reliance on others, or spiritual alignment. Approaching recurring symptoms with awareness allows us to address the whole self, not just the visible problem. This holistic approach ensures that the process of recovery is comprehensive, sustainable, and spiritually enriching. Another key point is that Allah's wisdom governs the timing and manner of healing. Human beings often measure success and progress by immediate results or visible outcomes, but Allah measures by wisdom, mercy, and suitability for the individual. What may appear as a setback could be part of a divine plan that ensures a stronger, more complete recovery in the long term. Our perception is limited, but Allah's knowledge encompasses everything. Accepting that the process may be longer than we wish or that difficulties may return is an act of submission and a demonstration of trust in Allah's plan. Consistency in effort is essential. The recurrence of symptoms is a call to remain steadfast in both spiritual and practical practices. Continue making dua, continue following medical guidance or treatment, and continue seeking permissible means of healing. Islam teaches balance. We take action with diligence while maintaining trust in Allah Effort without reliance may lead to frustration, and reliance without effort may lead to stagnation. The recurrence of symptoms is a reminder to maintain this balance, to combine faith with action, and to continue striving with hope and patience. Comparisons with others can become a trap when healing is slow or recurring symptoms emerge. Someone else may appear to recover faster or face fewer challenges, but each individual has a unique journey tailored by Allah. Measuring our progress against others often results in despair and self-doubt. Recognizing that every challenge, every symptom, and every moment of patience is part of a personalized divine plan helps cultivate contentment, gratitude, and resilience. It is also necessary to remember that recurring symptoms are not a reflection of weakness or failure. Human beings have limits, and physical and emotional bodies operate within natural constraints. What matters most is how we respond to the recurrence. The opportunity lies in deepening trust, maintaining hope, and turning to Allah with renewed sincerity. Every moment of patience, every effort to seek help, and every heartfelt dua is a step forward, even if the visible problem remains temporarily. Recurring symptoms also teach empathy and compassion. When we experience challenges repeatedly, we gain a deeper understanding of the struggles of others, and our hearts soften toward those who suffer. This spiritual growth, often overlooked, is part of the broader meaning of healing. Pain, when approached with patience and trust, becomes a teacher, shaping not only the physical but also the moral and spiritual character. Understanding the non-linear nature of healing transforms our perspective. Setbacks are no longer discouraging, but become opportunities for reflection, spiritual growth, and patience. They remind us that progress is ongoing, often unseen, and that the journey itself has profound value. By approaching recurring symptoms with awareness, consistency, and trust, we align ourselves with Allah's wisdom and ensure that every step, even through difficulty, contributes to our ultimate well-being, growth, and closeness to the most merciful. When challenges return in our lives, it is easy for the heart to be overwhelmed by fear, doubt, or despair. We naturally question why a difficulty that we thought had passed is showing up again. The mind begins to replay old worries, and the heart feels heavy with frustration. It is in these moments that the human soul must be reminded that returning trials are not a sign of failure, nor a signal that Allah has abandoned us. On the contrary, the recurrence of a test is often a mercy in disguise, an opportunity for the believer to strengthen reliance on Allah, deepen spiritual awareness, and renew sincerity in worship. The wisdom behind every trial, visible or unseen, is part of Allah's perfect plan, and understanding this truth is key to maintaining faith when difficulties reappear. Reliance on Allah is not merely a concept, but a lived reality, one that must be actively nurtured. When symptoms or problems return, the believer is called to respond not with panic or blame, but with patience, reflection, and increased trust in the one who never errs. Trust is not passive. It is a conscious choice to surrender control to Allah while continuing to take the means that are permissible and beneficial. Every act of turning back to Allah, whether through prayer, dua, or reflection on His attributes, is an affirmation of faith. It is a reminder that no matter how many times a challenge returns, Allah remains the ultimate source of relief, guidance, and mercy. The recurrence of difficulties can also serve as a mirror to the heart, revealing areas that require attention and refinement. Often we think that relief alone is sufficient, that once a problem subsides, everything is complete. However, trials frequently return to teach lessons that were missed the first time, to strengthen qualities that were underdeveloped, and to elevate the soul to higher levels of sincerity and awareness. A returning test may highlight the need for increased gratitude, for deeper patience, or for a renewed focus on the spiritual aspects of life that were previously neglected. Every recurrence carries with it the potential to transform the believer, shaping character, faith, and perspective. It is important to realize that setbacks are not a measure of inadequacy. When symptoms return, the human mind often misinterprets the situation as a personal failure, a lack of faith, or a flaw in character. This perception is misleading. The truth is that Allah tests every soul according to what it can bear, and these challenges are customized to our unique circumstances, capacities, and spiritual journey. What may seem like a repetition of hardship is often a progression of refinement, a stage in a process designed to strengthen and prepare the believer for future blessings. Understanding this can help maintain hope and prevent despair from taking root in the heart. Returning challenges also teach humility. It is easy to feel self-sufficient when life proceeds smoothly, when prayers seem to be answered quickly, or when progress appears visible. However, when difficulties resurface, we are reminded that ultimate control lies with Allah, and that human knowledge and effort have limits. This humility nurtures reliance, reminding us that no matter how prepared or capable we feel, every step of the journey depends on Allah's mercy and guidance. It also fosters gratitude for the moments of relief that do occur, reinforcing the understanding that every blessing is by His grace and not by our own doing. Patience is central when facing recurring difficulties. Patience is not merely enduring hardship, it is maintaining composure, trust, and hope in the midst of challenges. When symptoms return, the believer has an opportunity to practice patience in a way that strengthens the heart, trains the soul, and increases spiritual resilience. Each moment of endurance, each prayer uttered with sincerity, and each act of trust in Allah is recorded, valued, and rewarded. Over time, these repeated acts of patience build a foundation of faith that cannot be shaken by external circumstances, regardless of how persistent or recurring they may be. Consistency in worship and effort is another essential aspect of relying on Allah during recurring trials. It is not sufficient to pray or seek help only when the problem first arises. True reliance involves continuous dua, sincere worship, and persistent effort to seek permissible remedies. The recurrence of symptoms reminds us that faith must be actively nurtured and maintained not only in moments of ease, but also in moments of ongoing challenge. Islam teaches the balance between action and trust. We act diligently while maintaining reliance on Allah, knowing that He alone determines the outcome. Returning trials can also provide an opportunity to reframe perspective. Instead of seeing the recurrence as punishment or failure, it can be understood as a means of drawing closer to Allah, increasing spiritual insight, and strengthening resilience. Every recurrence is a reminder that the journey of life is a combination of tests, learning, and growth. Understanding this perspective allows the believer to respond with patience, gratitude, and renewed trust rather than despair or resentment. It transforms challenges into opportunities for elevation rather than setbacks. Comparison with others is a danger to be avoided during recurring trials. It is common for the mind to look at someone else who seems to recover faster or face fewer challenges and to feel envy or inadequacy. However, each individual's journey is uniquely tailored by Allah. The timing, intensity, and lessons of each test are specific to the person experiencing it. By focusing on one's own path and relationship with Allah, rather than measuring oneself against others, a believer maintains contentment, gratitude, and trust. This focus strengthens reliance and prevents doubt from creeping into the heart. Expressing oneself openly to Allah is vital during these moments. It is not a weakness to confess fear, frustration, or weariness before the Creator. On the contrary, acknowledging the difficulty and seeking guidance, support, and mercy demonstrates reliance and trust. The believer can say, "O Allah, you see me, you know me, and I place my trust in you." This expression deepens the relationship with Allah, reinforces sincerity, and allows the heart to find solace even when symptoms or challenges return. Recurring difficulties remind us of the transient nature of life and the constancy of Allah's wisdom. They show that our journey is not simply about comfort or immediate results, but about cultivating faith, patience, and trust. Each return is a call to deepen reliance, strengthen intention, and remain steadfast in prayer and effort. It teaches the believer to view life's challenges as interconnected parts of a larger plan, where every hardship carries wisdom, every trial carries potential reward, and every moment of patience brings the soul closer to Allah. Consistency is one of the most important qualities a believer can cultivate, especially when facing recurring challenges. Life rarely unfolds in a straight line, and healing, whether physical, emotional, or spiritual, is no exception. Often people pray, seek help, and take necessary actions only to feel frustrated when symptoms or difficulties return. It is in these moments that consistency becomes not just a practice, but a form of worship. Remaining steadfast in prayer, dua, and effort demonstrates trust in Allah and acknowledgement that He alone controls the outcome. Consistency ensures that even when results are delayed or setbacks occur, the believer's heart remains connected to Allah, their intentions remain pure, and their faith continues to grow. Many people misunderstand the nature of reliance on Allah, thinking that trust means doing nothing and waiting for miracles to happen. True reliance, however, is paired with action. Islam emphasizes the balance between taking practical steps and placing full trust in Allah. When symptoms or difficulties return, it is easy to fall into despair or feel hopeless. But consistency reminds us that effort must continue regardless of immediate outcomes. Every act of devotion, every step taken toward better health, every moment of sincere dua counts as an investment in both spiritual and worldly well-being. The recurrence of challenges is not a signal to stop trying. Rather, it is a call to maintain focus, renew determination, and trust that Allah sees every effort and intention. Consistency also nurtures patience. Patience is more than simply waiting for relief. It is enduring difficulty with faith, maintaining hope in Allah, and continuing to act in ways that align with His guidance. When a challenge returns, patience and consistency work together. They prevent the heart from giving in to despair, guide the mind to seek solutions, and remind the soul that every moment of endurance is recognized and rewarded. The believer learns to face recurring difficulties not as failures, but as opportunities to strengthen trust, develop resilience, and grow spiritually. Each moment of consistent action, no matter how small, becomes part of a larger process of growth and refinement. Returning trials often test the believer's spiritual sincerity. It is easy to be devoted when life is smooth, when prayers seem to be answered quickly, and when progress is visible. True devotion, however, is proven during challenges, especially when they reappear. Consistency in worship and effort during repeated trials demonstrates sincerity, perseverance, and unwavering faith. It is a tangible way of showing Allah that the believer's reliance is not conditional upon ease, that devotion is not dependent on immediate relief, and that their faith is rooted in understanding His wisdom and mercy. Recurring challenges, therefore, become opportunities to solidify spiritual habits and deepen the connection with Allah. Another aspect of consistency is the renewal of intention. Every day, every action, and every moment of effort should be guided by the desire to seek Allah's pleasure. When difficulties return, it is easy to fall into routine without mindfulness. The believer must consciously renew intentions, reaffirm faith, and act with purpose. Whether it is performing prayer with full focus, making dua with sincerity, or taking necessary steps to improve one's health, each consistent action reinforces trust and aligns the heart with divine guidance. Returning challenges provide a moment to reassess intentions, ensuring that all efforts are spiritually meaningful and directed toward Allah's pleasure. Consistency also helps the believer navigate emotional and psychological challenges that arise when difficulties reappear. Fear, frustration, and doubt often accompany recurring problems, and these emotions can weaken faith if left unchecked. Maintaining regular spiritual practices, prayer, remembrance, recitation, and reflection, serves as a stabilizing force. These consistent acts remind the believer that Allah is present, aware, and merciful, even when circumstances seem discouraging. Repetition of worship and reliance reinforces hope, reduces anxiety, and strengthens the heart's capacity to endure ongoing challenges. In addition, consistency fosters resilience. Each recurring trial becomes a stepping stone for developing inner strength. The believer learns to rise after setbacks, to maintain trust when outcomes are uncertain, and to face repeated difficulties without losing faith. Resilience is cultivated not through absence of difficulty, but through consistent response to it. Every repeated effort, every sustained act of worship, and every continued dua builds emotional, spiritual, and mental strength, preparing the believer for future challenges and deepening the capacity to endure with dignity and faith. Consistency also provides a framework for perspective. When symptoms or challenges return, it is easy to fixate on immediate discomfort or frustration. Consistent practice allows the believer to step back, reflect on progress, and recognize that growth and healing often occur gradually and imperceptibly. It reinforces the understanding that life's journey is measured not by moments of ease alone, but by the continuous effort to maintain faith, act righteously, and trust in Allah. This perspective reduces despair, cultivates gratitude, and transforms recurring trials into meaningful experiences of spiritual development. Moreover, consistent action demonstrates hope. Hope is an essential part of faith, and recurring challenges can test the believer's sense of optimism. By remaining steadfast in worship, dua, and effort, the believer expresses hope that Allah's mercy is near and that relief is possible. Hope, when paired with consistency, becomes a guiding light that keeps the heart focused on trust, perseverance, and reliance, even when setbacks occur repeatedly. It is important to understand that consistent effort is not about perfection. It is about persistence, sincerity, and intention. A believer may falter, may feel weary, or may struggle to maintain focus. But returning to consistent practice, even imperfectly, is an act of devotion. Allah values sincerity and effort, recognizing the heart's intention more than outward perfection. Returning challenges provide multiple opportunities to practice this principle, reinforcing that spiritual growth is cumulative, progressive, and strengthened through perseverance. Consistency transforms recurring trials from sources of despair into instruments of spiritual elevation. Each act of sustained effort, every moment of prayer, and every sincere dua becomes a testimony to faith and reliance on Allah. It ensures that the heart remains connected, the mind remains focused, and the soul remains resilient, even in the face of repeated difficulties. Recurring challenges, when met with consistency, become catalysts for deeper trust, refined character, and enduring spiritual strength. Every believer must understand that Allah sees every struggle, records every act of patience, and honors every moment of sincere effort. Life is filled with trials, some visible and some hidden, some temporary and some that seem to linger. When symptoms return or challenges reappear, it is easy for the heart to feel unnoticed, for the mind to wonder if these repeated difficulties are meaningless, and for the soul to question whether patience is worthwhile. Yet the truth is that nothing escapes Allah's awareness. Every tear, every whispered dua, every silent plea, and every moment of perseverance is seen, valued, and rewarded by the Most Merciful. Recognizing this truth can transform the way a believer experiences recurring trials. When symptoms return, it is not a sign that your efforts are wasted or that your prayers were unanswered. It is an opportunity to deepen awareness that Allah is fully present, fully aware, and infinitely merciful. The heart often struggles when challenges persist. Human beings are naturally inclined to desire quick solutions and immediate relief. When relief is delayed or problems return, frustration and doubt can arise. The mind may replay previous efforts, questioning their effectiveness, while the heart feels exhausted from repeated endurance. At such times, it is essential to remember that patience itself has immense value in the sight of Allah. Every moment endured with patience is a moment of spiritual elevation. Every prayer offered with sincerity, even when the outcome is delayed, is a testament to faith. Every act of turning to Allah, even amidst repeated difficulty, is a demonstration of trust and reliance, and such acts do not go unnoticed. Understanding that Allah honors every struggle changes perspective. The believer begins to see that recurring symptoms or repeated trials are not meaningless interruptions, but part of a larger divine plan designed to strengthen faith, refine character, and develop resilience. Often, relief is accompanied by temporary improvement only for challenges to reappear. This is not a failure, rather. It is part of the process through which spiritual, emotional, and physical growth occurs. Allah's wisdom ensures that every difficulty, whether recurring or new, contributes to personal development, preparation for future blessings, and a deeper connection with the Most Merciful. A returning trial also serves as a reminder that reliance on Allah is central to the believer's journey. It is easy to rely on results, on immediate relief, or on visible progress. But true reliance is measured in moments of ongoing challenge, when outcomes are uncertain and when the heart must maintain trust despite recurring difficulties. Turning to Allah repeatedly with sincerity and humility is itself an act of worship. It reinforces the understanding that outcomes belong to Him alone, that He is fully aware of every struggle, and that His timing is perfect. Recurring challenges invite reflection, encouraging the believer to continually renew intentions, reaffirm faith, and act with consistent devotion. It is also vital to recognize that patience in recurring trials is not passive. True patience involves endurance coupled with proactive effort, continued worship, and sincere dua. The believer is encouraged to take practical steps, seek permissible remedies, and maintain healthy routines while simultaneously placing trust in Allah. Each action taken in balance with reliance is a demonstration of faith, a confirmation that the believer is actively participating in their own journey of healing, spiritual growth, and personal development. Consistency in effort reinforces the value of patience, showing that repeated challenges are not meaningless but part of a process that integrates action, reflection, and trust. Recurring difficulties also cultivate empathy and compassion. When one experiences repeated trials, the heart becomes more attuned to the struggles of others. This awareness strengthens character, softens the soul, and encourages kindness and support toward those facing similar difficulties. Spiritual maturity is often developed not only through personal endurance, but also through the ability to understand and assist others. Every moment of personal challenge, therefore, carries the potential to shape not only the individual's relationship with Allah, but also their relationships with others. Gratitude becomes essential in the face of recurring trials. Even when symptoms return, acknowledging the moments of relief and recognizing the support, resources, and opportunities available helps maintain balance of heart and mind. Gratitude transforms perspective, enabling the believer to see that every difficulty carries potential benefit, every recurring challenge contains hidden wisdom, and every act of patience is recognized. Gratitude complements reliance, reinforcing the understanding that Allah's presence is constant and His attention encompasses all aspects of life. It is also necessary to guard against despair. Recurring symptoms or repeated hardships can test the limits of endurance, leading some to question the value of effort or prayer. Recognizing that Allah records every struggle and rewards every act of patience provides hope. No effort is wasted, no dua is overlooked, and no act of worship is unappreciated. This assurance strengthens faith, providing the courage to persevere even when challenges seem relentless. Returning trials are reminders of the transient nature of worldly circumstances. Pain, difficulty, and symptoms may appear to dominate life, but they are temporary in comparison to the eternal reward that Allah promises for patience and perseverance. Every moment T endured with faith, every act of worship continued in difficulty, and every sincere plea to Allah is part of a spiritual legacy that carries lasting value. Recognizing this encourages the believer to view recurring challenges not as setbacks, but as opportunities for elevation, growth, and enduring reward. Even when challenges are repeated, believers are reminded to focus on personal progress rather than external comparisons. Each soul's journey is unique, every trial is tailored, and every opportunity for patience and growth is individualized by Allah's wisdom. This perspective protects the heart from envy, discouragement, and self-doubt, allowing the believer to maintain focus, hope, and reliance. The recurrence of challenges becomes a personal journey of refinement, a pathway to spiritual strength, and a demonstration of sincere faith in the most merciful ultimately. The knowledge that Allah sees, records, and honors every struggle gives meaning to recurring trials. The believer understands that no effort is wasted, no act of patience is unnoticed, and no sincere dua is ignored. Each recurring challenge becomes an opportunity to strengthen faith, develop resilience, and deepen reliance on Allah. Through patience, consistency, and trust, recurring difficulties transform from sources of frustration into pathways for spiritual elevation, reflection, and enduring connection with the one who knows, sees, and rewards all